Hi everybody, Chris here from Truly Holistic. Now in this video we're going to talk about inflammation. Now I had a comment from somebody who follows my channel who would like me to talk about an in-depth conversation about inflammation, and great topic to talk about. Inflammation is something that we all experience in our lifetime in one form or another, and some people are very low-grade constant inflammation issue, and some people having an accident or just twisting your ankle, right, and then it getting swollen and inflamed. So in that case, right, when you twist your ankle, it's kind of welcome, right, because it's kind of cushioning that ankle to prevent it getting hurt even more. But it's something that should appear for a very short period and go away again. But what we see for a majority of what this person's talking about, wants me to talk about, is this aspect of chronic, consistent inflammation problems. And we see that regularly with all health problems and illnesses and diseases. So we're going to talk about it. Now, I'm going to say it straight out from the start, right? Because this is what Truly Holistic's about, right? Is about the root, the core, the origin of everything. So the cause or the origin of inflammation is not having an adequate ground. Okay. Now, what I mean by that is a bit like, the wiring in our house, right? We ground it, we earth it, right? These are grounding earthing rod. So this does touch upon this earthing phenomena, right? And we'll talk about that in a minute. And, what we perceive as the human body is really an interface. And another word for an interface is a computer. We're a computer. Okay. And what can happen is our body is dependent on flow, okay, to be well and vital, right? And all health problems we find is either obstruction, blockage, congestion of flow in the body, that inability to enable that, right? So, and a lot of problems that come from that is that then, because the body's not in a flowing state, it's in a congestive state, it enables accumulation of material to accumulate in the body, which becomes toxicity, right? Anything that we accumulate in a large amount becomes a toxin, right? So it's the definition of toxicity in the body, right? So then people will do a cleanse or a detox, right? Which is essentially at its core to enable flow into an area that was once congested, right? So we let go of that accumulation, that toxicity. Now, how that connects with inflammation is that inflammation slows, obstructs, congests, blocks flow of the body, right? So that's where inflammation is also very much connected. Now, when it comes to, cause of inflammation not having a ground is this aspect that our home, our ground, is our heart, okay? It's our center of neutrality, right? So all the things that we pick up as part of the collective, which is based on duality, duality doesn't enable us to live a life or exist in a flowing manner. We call that a state of being. And that's the cosmic joke, because we're called human beings, but majority of humans don't know how to be. They learn how to do. And that's the opposite to that, right? Because out of doing, we become overwhelmed, we become stressed, and the state of stress, right, again, promotes a state of congestion, obstruction, and blockage, not flow. Okay, which is connected again to all illness and diseases, right? Okay, so the neutrality aspect of our heart then can balance out everything that duality forces upon us, which is putting us in an unbalanced state. Okay. So this is where the heart then becomes connected to the earth. Okay. So for anyone that doesn't know, there's a phenomena such as earthing, right? So as I mentioned, how we earth and ground all the electrical wiring in the home, right? Well, you can do the same for the body. So what that means, earthing or grounding, is essentially taking off your shoes, taking off your socks, and putting your bare feet on the surface of the earth. okay? And, you know, for decades, this was a hippie thing, right? We hug trees and you get into nature and you don't wear shoes and all that. But there's been a lot of science now to support this, right? Is this aspect that we have the most nerve endings on the bottom of our feet. And, you know, as we always go by here at Truly Holistic, everything has purpose to it. And on the crust of the earth, there is an accumulation of negative ions. Now, even though it's called negative, it's not negative for your health. It's actually positive ions are the ones that are not good for you because they stick to you. Negative ions discharges them off you, right? You could see that as the difference between congestion or accumulation and flow, right? As we mentioned before. And so when our nerve endings on our feet, we absorb that negative ionization into the body. Okay? So instead of our body kind of being a closed circuit, right, when we're wearing shoes, because the rubber soles in the shoes then stops that absorption of that negative ionization, we're a closed circuit when we just build and accumulate more positive ions. So when we ground, we discharge those off, or we at least transmute them, right? Which is kind of like what our heart does through neutrality of transmuting the effects of duality, right? And we'll get to that. So there's a lot of science to show that when there's positive ionization, right? Congestion, blockage, right? Accumulation of those ions stimulates, promotes inflammation. And then when we discharge that off, right, by getting enough negative ionization, we discharge all that inflammation out of the body. Okay? Now, and there's a lot of technologies you can get, like earthing sheets and all sorts of things, and earthing mats you can put your feet on while you're working on the computer or around technology or the fridge or dryers in your home that give off positive ions, so ions that are not so good for you. Now, how does earthing connect to... Because you got to see when you connect to the earth, right, like with your feet, your bare feet onto the soil, the crust of the earth. And why the crust of the earth gets the absorption of negative ionization, it's through all around the world lightning, right, hitting the crust of the earth, and they absorbs that ionization. Now, is essentially you're rooted to the earth, rooted to the ground, right? Your feet are rooted onto the soil, okay? So we say that you're grounded, right? You're grounded, earth rooted to the ground. Now, where it connects to the heart is that the heart is a portal, wormhole, facilitation of your authenticity as an infinite consciousness, which means consciousness means energy, infinite means an energy that has no boundary or limitation to it, okay? So the more our awareness sits in our heart and the more in a state of being, which is being present and self-aware, we enable our heart to open more, which means that we can facilitate more of our infinite intelligence or consciousness energy. Okay, now how that connects to grounding is the fact that when we look at the word earth and we look at the word heart, they all contain the same letters. Okay, and as I said, what did I say before? Everything has purpose. So we've got the letter H at the start of the word heart, and we've got the letter H at the end of the word earth. Again, by all purpose, right? And my higher consciousness has always said it starts with the heart and it ends with the earth. So the earth becomes an expression of your heart. Okay? So the connection we have with the earth itself is just a projection of the original connection we have with ourself as an infinite consciousness that's facilitated by our heart. Okay? This is how I teach people how to earth and ground without having to touch the earth or go take your shoes off and go barefoot or using earthing technologies. Because if you can stay in a state of being, which is being self-aware in the moment, from moment to moment, which we call being in the flow, you're grounded, you're earthed. Okay? Why? Because you're facilitating flow into the body, right? As I say. right? The body runs in a vital and well function when everything is flowing. Okay, right? So our ultimate ground is our heart. Yes, we can use the earth, but the earth is merely a projection that originates from the heart. As I say, the earth is an expression of the heart. Now, let's take it even further, right? So when we look at like being rooted to the ground, right? The roots, being grounded, being earth. What else is grounded earth that we see, right? A tree, right? The tree's made up of foliage on the outside, right? The superficial means, the expression of that tree, that plant, you know, the leaves, the flowers. And then you got little branches, and then the bigger branches, and then you have the trunk of the tree, and then you have the roots of the tree. Now, why bring this up and how it connects to you as an infinite consciousness within you, right? This quantum pathway through the heart, is that your infinite nature is a tree. Is what? Is a tree. So when we facilitate, we've got this open, we facilitate more of your authenticity through, you're facilitating the greater depths of what you authentically are, which is a tree. Okay? And this is something I have in my chart. It's called the Ascension Map, and I've done videos about the Ascension Map before. And as you can see, it's in the format of a tree. Okay? These are all the foliage aspects, right? Expression, because you are here, your purpose of being here, right, is to have a life of observation experience that you convert into wisdom. You're a representation of yourself as an infinite consciousness. You're the spokesperson, the expression of that light, right? So these here, the foliage aspects, right, you can see them in circles. These are all the realities, which you could call a reality dimensional universe, which your energy is spliced into, right? So these are like variants or versions, beings that live in other realities that are connected to you because they share the same energy signature as you, right? That energy signature's in this trunk, and then they get split into these different realities. Now you also notice that there's roots here. Now this is the source of you, which we call your source self. Okay, it's the source energy of you before you get branched into a multiverse. Okay, so when you connect into here, you can connect into all this aspect, this expansive aspect of you, which includes roots, being grounded, being earth. This is going to such an expansive, deep understanding, insight into inflammation. Okay, because inflammation, the cause of inflammation, is not having a ground, right? And we've already shown that a ground is having this heart open, right? Or at least for a short period of time, because this is the origin of it. The projection is connecting or getting your feet on the earth, right? Earthing that way. But it's still a ground. Okay, it's not the original ground, but it is a ground. Okay. So it's really interesting, you know, this aspect of inflammation. If we can open the heart, if we can connect to the earth more, then we increase our chances of not being inflamed or having inflammation. Now, of course, there's lovely things out there that you can take, right? Anti-inflammatories. You know, people take pharmaceutical medication as anti-inflammatories. There is in the plant world, in the herbal world, in the supplement world, there's great natural anti-inflammatories you can take. They're wonderful. But again, what I'll put to you right now is not the original root of inflammation and also how to resolve it, is it? It's just putting a Band-Aid approach on, really, isn't it? Just taking something to create an anti-inflammatory effect for a short period of time, but you continuing to live in a way that is promoting inflammation. It's not sustainable. The means that we've talked about in this video is sustainable. Okay? And this is what Truly Holistic's about. We are all about providing a means for you to live an experience that brings forth more of your authenticity and a way of living that is sustainable. Because humanity, human identity, and the embodiment of human identity with the mind controlling your experience, the choices, the decisions that you're going to make, is providing a means of technology that we're providing today is not sustainable. Not sustainable for ourselves, but also for the state environment that we rely on. Okay, so I hope everybody's really enjoyed this video in regards to the origins, the cause of inflammation, and the best way to go about that in regards to a greater insight into it. If you have any comments, please comment it below. Please like the video. Please share the video on social media platforms. We want to really get the message out there. Okay, get through all this conditional viewpoints of things, just get to the basis, the origin of everything. If you're somebody new to my channel and love what you're hearing here, please subscribe to the channel. If you're interested in booking appointments, go to my website, trulyholistic.net/appointments/. We also make energy products that assist with providing more of your authenticity, to enable your heart to be more open, right? Which will provide that ground that can neutralize your health problem that is due to inflammation. We have a lot of things for all sorts of things to assist and empower and enlighten you. Until next time, catch you later.